All right, good afternoon, good morning to everybody attending this GCPay webinar hosted by Alliance Solutions Group. My name is Nate Bobbitt with Alliance Solutions Group. I'm also joined by Sabrina Katz from GCPay as a channel sales manager and Marshall Baranek from Sage as a sales engineer who will be walking you through GCPay today. Just before we get started with GCPay, Alliance Solutions Group, we are America's largest construction technology partner. We're a team of dedicated technology consultants focused on the construction and real estate industries only. We provide a portfolio of solutions, and our passion is implementing the right solution to best fit your needs. That ties right into our vision. We strive to be the premier provider of technology solutions for the construction industry and to be your partner for life. For our webinar today, we're going to go through an agenda of GCPay with an overview with lien waiver management, streamlined collaboration and compliance, automated electronic payments, and reporting tools. We'll also follow up with some questions from our webinar attendees also. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we jump into GCPay. All attendees are muted for a clean listening experience. There is a questions chat box on your control panel, so feel free to ask any questions that you may have. We will address them at the end. And there's also a way to maximize your screen on that control panel, so make sure you do that to get the best screen resolution for our webinar today. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Sabrina to discuss what is GCPay.
Thanks so much, Nate. Can everyone see my screen? Nate, will you let me know?
Yep, I've got you.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that great introduction. I'm so excited to have everyone here on our first kind of GCPay virtual roadshow webinar. Before we dive into the actual demonstration, I just wanted to give you a little background on what is GCPay. So for those of you who are not yet familiar, it is a SaaS platform for managing the subcontractor pay application process. The reason why I want to emphasize that it's a SaaS platform is because all you need is a phone, tablet, or computer with internet access, and you can access GCPay. So you don't nothing on the server or anything like that. It's all that accessible online. Right now we have, a little under 50,000 companies ranging from general contractors, developers, subcontractors, architects, all utilizing GCPay. We are managing projects in all 50 states plus Canada currently. What this means for you is, whatever state you're in, most likely some of your subs or a good amount of your subs are already using GCPay with other contractors. And if you are in a company that has projects in multiple states, most likely GCPay is already used by, a good number of your subs in those other states as well. One of my favorite things about GCPay is our founding story. So we were technically founded in 2003 by a construction auditor, and his job was to audit, commercial general contractors like a lot of yourselves. And I think he was doing it for maybe 2 or 3 years, and then he was like, there has to be a better way than the paper payout process. Luckily for him, his brother-in-law was a software engineer, so they teamed up to officially launch beta GCPay in 2004, when actually our first beta customer was a Sage 300 CRE user. So just so you guys know, the relationship between GCPay and Sage has been happening over 15 years. At this point, it's very strong integration-wise and partnership-wise. So maybe this is sounding interesting to you. You're like, okay, yeah, we definitely could improve our payout process. We love the fact that it's a web-based platform, but what exactly does GCPay do? So the platform truly is made to eliminate key sub payout issues. So the first one is subcontractor billing errors. So right now, if you're thinking about your current payout process and you deal with subs submitting contracts overbilled, schedule values overbilled, line items overbilled, or maybe they'll submit a billing to you where they think 50% of 50 is 35,000 and not 25,000, things like that. So if you're dealing with any sort of overbilling, math mistakes, things like that, the platform truly eliminates a sub's ability to overbill a contract, overbill a line, or have any sort of math errors. The next thing is missing lien waivers. So right now, if you're thinking about your current pay app process and your accounting or project managers, they a lot of times have to chase down lien waivers, correct lien waivers that might have the wrong information on it. And if the whole lien waiver aspect, whether this is conditional, unconditional, partial, final, whatever waiver it is, if you have issues, not getting the right lien waiver when you need it, GCPay completely eliminates that. Marshall will show this on the demo, but right in the platform, you can require a subcontractor to submit a lien waiver along with the pay app. What this means is, again, your team never again has to worry about that lien waiver not being attached and having to do the whole back and forth manual communication to get it back. For unapproved change orders, right now, if you're looking at your process and subs will sometimes bill for unapproved change orders, and then it's on your team to manually catch those. And then what if something slips through the cracks and you don't catch it until you're putting it back into Sage, or just the whole if you're tracking change orders in Excel or anything like that. This is where GCPay and Sage's direct API integration really comes into play. All you have to do is put the approved change order into Sage, and it will automatically come over and be billable in GCPay. No hand keying whatsoever by your team. What this does is it fully eliminates any possibility of a sub to bill for unapproved change orders. And then with that though, since they can't bill for it, no longer will your team be spending time manually double checking that nothing's, everything's approved, or, manually dealing with errors on change order management. Kind of on a similar note, with our direct API integration with Sage, we will pull over compliance straight from Sage. So think like general liability, workman's comp, umbrella insurance, anything that you're tracking right now in Sage, that will come over into GCPay with the expiration dates. So right now, if you're thinking about your process and you're tracking, compliance in Excel, or, you can really do better in tracking compliance, or your team all the time has to manually let subs know, hey, this is expiring soon, please update this. And it's just a lot of back and forth communication. GCPay fully eliminates that. We pull over the compliance directly. Since we know the expiration dates, we'll notify subs before it's expiring. And then right in the platform, you can block a sub from either submitting a pay app, you can block your team from approving pay app, or you can hold payment automatically until updated compliance is complete. The last piece is that hand keying double entry into Sage. So if you're looking at your current process, and right now, once that approved pay app is done, how are you getting that data back into Sage? If you're hand keying that approved pay app information back into Sage, GCPay fully eliminates the need to hand key sub pay apps back in. Marshall will show this at the end, but it's truly one click of an import button, no hand keying, and you can import one pay app or 200 pay apps at a time right directly back in to Sage. This is a quote, a good one I thought could be helpful for the webinar today. We probably save half a day every day. It's 20 to 25 hours a week where someone on my team doesn't have to be manually entering data. So I'm sure, as you can tell, since the platform eliminates these 5 or 6 key pay app issues, it saves customers so much time. After implementing GCPay, a lot of customers report they're able to take on 2 times, if not more, projects without implementing any new headcount in their organization. So again, if you deal with any one of these issues and think that you can save more time on your pay app process, I think you'll definitely like the demo that Marshall's about to show. And with that, Marshall, I will hand it over to you to show a live demo of the platform.
Thank you, Sabrina. Give me just a couple clicks here and I'll go ahead and share out my screen. Alrighty. And so thank you for that introduction, Sabrina. And thank you everyone for joining us on the presentation here today. We're really excited to show you the GCPay platform and show how that integrates with your Sage accounting solution. This slide here talks about the transfer of the critical financial data that will flow between your subcontractors and your company. We are going to be highlighting the presentation with Sage 300 Construction and Real Estate, but we also integrate with Sage 100 Contractor as well. As you can see from the flow diagram on the bottom, these will actually be the steps that we walk through in the presentation here today. And we will start by showing how we can connect our jobs from within Sage to our projects in GCPay. We will then show how we can manage the schedule of values within the GCPay platform. And we can show a couple different examples how we can either present our subs with a detailed subcontract, or we can allow them to detail out a lump sum contract. So we'll take a look at a couple examples there today. With regards to the schedule of values, we can also send that to one person in your company or multiple for review. And once that has been agreed upon within the platform, then we'll move on to the application for payment. Now, depending on the course of the project, whether it's just a few months, 6 months, or say 18 months, this portion here that's in the red box may happen multiple times over the course of the project. And so the subs will create and submit any number of pay applications. There are a number of documents that may be required with that pay application, including a lien waiver. And so we'll be talking about how we can manage the lien waiver in that step in the process as well. Once the applications for payment have been reviewed and approved by the general contractor, with a click of a button, we can send the information into the Sage ERP. And so these will be the different steps that we will walk through in today's demonstration. What you're looking at now is the GCPay website, and you will be able to access this solution from any device that is internet enabled or has an internet browser. So whether you're accessing the solution from a cell phone, a tablet, or a laptop like I am today, you're going to have access to this solution from anywhere you have that connection. And this is going to be the same website where you will log in as well as your subcontractors. We're going to begin the demonstration today by assuming the role of the general contractor, and we're going to jump into the product here today. But before I log into the GCPay platform, I do want to introduce the GCPay integration window. This will be a small piece of software that's installed on your 300 CRE server, which will facilitate the communication between GCPay and your Sage system. Currently, you can see I don't have any projects synced, and so I'm going to come here and link a new project. This is where you can connect your Sage 300 CRE jobs to the projects within GCPay. So we'll go ahead and select the Northwest Food Warehouse for today's example. When we click OK, we are actually linking those projects together, and we're going to show that all in real time here today. We'll go ahead and close the integration window, but we will be coming back to the integration window at the end of the presentation here today. So now we're going to log in as the general contractor. And as the general contractor, we can see lots of information about the projects we currently have set up. And so I can navigate over to the Projects tab. And here you can see a couple projects that I've gotten started in my GCPay platform. We're going to be working with the Northwest Food Warehouse here today. And when we navigate to project settings, we can see the project name, number, location, and the owner's details. This information will be used to populate lien waivers later in the workflow. You'll also notice that I currently have one user set up, and you can actually have as many users in the GCPay platform as you need, as we don't license the product based on user count. If we select the user, you can allow them to assume any number of roles, including project manager, compliance officer, or a lien officer, which means that they'll only be responsible for reviewing those documents that pertain to their particular job. I'm just going to have one reviewer set up for the demonstration today for simplicity's sake, but just know that you could set up multiple in the program, no problem. Next, we're going to navigate over to the Companies tab. And one thing that typically surprises general contractors when they adopt the GCPay platform is just how many of their subcontractors are currently on the GCPay system. When I click Add Company here, what I'm doing is actually searching against a list of companies that are currently in GCPay. So it looks like Ford Metals here, one of my subs, is within the GCPay platform, and I'm going to add them to my project today. Now, if you had a company that did not currently use the GCPay system, you could simply send them an invite to create their profile, which is where they will begin to submit their pay applications. I'm also going to add Barth Electric because I've got a couple different examples set up in the next step. So we're going to move across the tabs here from left to right. And the next one in the sequence is the Integration tab. And this is where we begin to highlight the integration back to your Sage accounting solution. So here we can link our commitments. And by clicking Link Commitment, here are all of my job cost commitments. So think those subcontracts and purchase orders. We can select a particular contract, or you can search against this list. And I'm going to search for Ford Metals. And here we have a detailed contract for $165,000. When we select the Ford Metals there, we will be creating a new schedule of values. And we have a couple different ways that you can pull that in. And the way that I'm going to pull this in for the Ford Metals today, you'll notice that it pulls in each of those commitment items exactly how they show up within Sage. And so each of these line items can be tied to a different cost code. Now, if we come and link a commitment to another vendor, we can show how we could also provide a lump sum contract. And so I'm going to select this contract for Barth Electric. And so the difference is that we are going to constrain this schedule. And you'll notice that it pulls in the schedule name, the start date, the retainage. And when we pull that in as constrained, you'll notice that it is currently being filled out by the subcontractor. So we have the option to allow a subcontractor to break apart a detailed contract into their own schedule of values. And so depending on how you might pull that in, we can still send them both for approval. The next thing I want to highlight is the Compliance tab. And here you can see the different vendors, Barth Electric and Ford Metals, and you can see the compliance here as it shows up within my Sage accounting solution. So here for Barth Electric, you can see that my general liability insurance is verified and it doesn't expire until December of next year. However, the workers' comp insurance looks like it has recently expired, or at least I'm showing that it is expired. And so we will be presenting this to the subcontractor so that they can upload the required documents. Now we will go to lien waivers in just a moment, but at this point in the demo, I'd like to log out of the solution once again. Now I'd like to once again remind you of this slide here that talks about the workflow, and we have now completed the first step in this workflow as we have created a project and went ahead and linked those contracts. So the next step in the workflow is for the subcontractor to detail out and submit a schedule of values, and then we will review it as the general contractor. And so from the exact same website, your subcontractors will be able to log into the GCPay system. And if you notice in the upper right-hand corner, I'm now currently logged in as Joe Barth. So I am assuming the role of your subcontractors. Now, Joe Barth could navigate over to the Projects tab to see details that require his attention. But we also have the dashboard. And the dashboard is a great way to see items that require your immediate attention. You'll notice I have a bunch of red items here. The goal is to have everything be a green 0, such as this one under submitted. Now it looks like I have 5 items that have yet to be submitted. And if I look down here, looks like for the Northwest Food Warehouse, I need to submit a schedule of values. So you can click Edit or Submit as the subcontractor. And you'll see here that we present that original contract amount, which is $76,360. So it's the responsibility of the subcontractor to now break this out into more detail. They may just add one line and provide a description for the work. Or perhaps they add multiple lines and they can start typing in details, which add up to $76,360. But we will also allow them to upload a template, which provides the item number, description, and the dollar amounts. And I'm going to go ahead and upload that from Excel right now. So with just a few clicks, I went ahead and uploaded a schedule of values from Excel. Now you'll notice that I made my Excel document match the $76,360. But if we tried to exceed this dollar amount, if I changed this from $780 to say $800, you'll notice that I have now exceeded my schedule by $20. And so it will not allow me to submit this schedule today. So I'm going to bring that back to $780 and submit the correct dollar amount. You'll notice here that we have a couple additional items that are required before we can submit this schedule. It looks like I have a checklist that needs to be completed and also some required documentation. When you check on the checklist, we can have our subs acknowledge different items. For example, if you have outstanding compliance, payment will be delayed. And so as the subcontractor, I am acknowledging that I need to update that compliance. Next, we have a document that's required. And for today's example, I have a non-disclosure agreement. But think of any documents that you might require from your subs before they start work on a project. You can require that documentation at this point in the process. You can provide a template for them to download, and then they can sign that or fill it out and then upload a particular document. And so I went ahead and uploaded my non-disclosure agreement just a moment ago. When the sub submits the schedule of values, they have the ability to provide any additional comments, and those will be tracked and included in notification emails. Now that we have submitted the schedule of values, you'll notice that we point out right away to the subcontractor that they have compliance issues that must be resolved. We can either click on the red button that says compliance or view compliance issues. And here you can see my workers' comp insurance that is out of date. And so right from here, I can upload that updated insurance. So what we're going to do now is review the schedule of values as the general contractor. And so I'm now assuming the role of the GC, and we are now going to review the schedule as it has come in. Now, just like the subcontractors, you will also get a nice dashboard. And from the dashboard, you'll see those items that do require your attention, such as this submittal here in this first section. You'll see here, this is a schedule of values that was submitted by Barth Electric, and we'll go ahead and click Review. We can see how the schedule of values was broken apart as we presented them with a contract that was $76,360, and they broke that into 12 individual lines. You can also see the required documentation, and we could review that. We can see that they completed the checklist, and ultimately we can approve the schedule of values. Now you'll notice that there's one reviewer here, which is myself, Marshall Baranek. But if you wanted to have multiple reviewers set up for reviewing the schedule, you could set that up very easily. And we could even set up a tiered review, meaning that after Marshall reviews it, we could send it for a final review. We will go ahead and approve the schedule of values today. And now that the schedule of values has been approved, it's now billable by the subcontractor. But you'll notice here that I have a big yellow box that says Timberline issue found. One or more of my commitments has failed a validation. So let's go over to integration and see what's going on. So I'll let you know what I went ahead and did prior to the demonstration today. And I went ahead and submitted an approved change order in my Sage system for $20,000. And so you'll notice here that we last synchronized with the GCPay system about 15 minutes ago. And GCPay in your Sage system will synchronize every 30 minutes, which means that if you submit an approved change order, it will automatically be billable by the subcontractor within 30 minutes. However, you'll see that you can also just click on that change order and click save, and it's going to add that to the subcontract. So just to be clear, the way that we will handle change orders is that once the change order is entered in your Sage accounting solution and marked as approved, then within 30 minutes, it will be billable by your subcontractor. If you need to push it through right away, you can do it like I did today. And so at this point in time, our subcontractor has the ability to start billing against these line items. And the primary way that we will be notifying your subcontractors will be via some of these project settings. And so you'll notice here under billing options, we have the ability to send billing reminders a week before the billing due date. So perhaps your billing due date is on the 25th of each month, which would be today. And so what we can do is actually send a reminder 1 week before the billing due date, perhaps on the 18th of the month. If they get the billings in by the 25th, then hopefully we can turn that around by the end of the month. And so we can generate reminders for your subcontractors under this billing options here. Next, we're going to come down to the lien waiver and compliance section. For today's example, we will require our contractors to use lien waivers. And you'll see here that I have a couple different types of lien waivers already uploaded into the system. I have a conditional as well as an unconditional, but you may also have a final waiver or state-specific waiver or even one that's project-specific. And the way that we will handle waivers is we will actually upload your company's waivers into the system. And then you'll determine when we want to send that particular document. And you'll also determine the type of waiver. You'll see here that we have a few different options. And for today's example, I'm going to leave this as before submit, which means we are going to require the contractor to submit that with the pay application. A common option that some of our customers use is this paid option. And what the paid option will do, will actually look back at your Sage accounting solution. And it's going to look at the pay app. And once it's been marked as paid in Sage, then we can actually send the waiver. There is an additional ACH feature that is available for GCPay, which will actually provide the lien waiver exchange through the use of an escrow account, which means that we will send the waiver once payment hits an escrow account, ensuring that waiver payment exchange. I'm going to leave this as before submit today, but just wanted to highlight a couple different options on how you might configure your waivers. Down below under project compliance, you'll notice that I will require compliance items today. However, we could take that a step further and we could actually disallow the submission of an application if compliance items are shown as outstanding. Alternatively, we could allow submission, but just not allow anyone on our end to approve that pay app if any items are outstanding. And so you will have a lot of control over when those compliance items are required. Down below, you can see the required documents, such as the non-disclosure form or any other documents we might want to upload, as well as the checklist items. All right, so if you've been keeping track so far, then you know that at this point in the demonstration, we are going to now cover the sub creating a pay application, We will then assume the role of the general contractor and review and approve that pay app for today's example. And so in order to show that, we need to log in one more time as the subcontractor. And so I'm now logging in as Joe Barth for the final time because I received that notification email that says, hey, I need to submit that by the 25th if I want to get paid by the end of the month. So I'm going to navigate over to my projects tab, and we're going to jump into the Northwest Food Warehouse. Right away, I can see that I have compliance issues that are currently outstanding. But I'm going to navigate down to my application for payment and click Create. Your subs will do all of their billing right from this screen. They will see the original contract amount, the work percent, the work retainage, and then they'll also be able to see the line items as has been broken apart, as has been agreed by the subcontractor as well as the GC. Now, one of the great things about GCPay is that we will prevent the ability of any math mistakes or billing errors in the document here. For example, if we came under this period for line item 1 and typed in $10,000, you'll notice that the work percent will automatically calculate. Alternatively, we could type in 50% for refrigeration labor, and you'll notice how the dollar amount calculates down to the penny. If we came under this line here for new panel material, which is $5,000, if I tried to overbill this line item and put this in for $5,500, you'll notice that GCPay will not allow me to overbill the line item. Even if I came in here and put this in as $5,000 and 1 penny, it will not allow me to overbill the line item. Now, it's very possible that you allow your subs the ability to charge for materials stored. And so under the materials stored column, I'm going to put in $1,000 today. And if we put a dollar amount in materials stored, we will trigger an additional requirement that will require the subs to upload photos and insurance supporting the materials stored that they're billing for. You'll also notice down below that we have that change order that was submitted from the application or from the system earlier. So this change order was put into Sage first, and now it's billable by the subcontractor. You'll also notice a nice summary down here below. And this summary is interactive in the sense that if I came up here and updated one of these line items here, perhaps I put in $1,000 for refrigeration labor, you'll notice that when I tab across, it updates the summary down below accordingly. The summary will show the original contract sum, net any change orders, showing the contract sum to date. We'll show the work completed minus out the retainage to show the contractor what they can expect to get paid for this particular pay run. By clicking Save, you'll see that we do have a couple additional documents that need to be submitted prior to submitting the pay app. The first thing that we will require is the stored material backup. So here you can see that for this particular line item, we must provide pictures and proof of insurance. And so I'm going to go ahead and upload a photo today of some stored refrigerated material or refrigeration, and we'll select OK. Now you'll get to see what this document looks like in the next step in the process when I review this pay app. The next item that's required is additional information about your tiered contractors. And so what this is doing is asking your subs to provide information on any third-party subs. And so perhaps there are third-party vendors or third-party suppliers for a particular job. And so if your subcontractors are working with those, we will require that they attest yes or no. If you select yes, the subcontractor will be required to add those vendors to GCPay. And it's very possible that the sub is already working in GCPay. Alternatively, we would invite them, similar to how we did with our subcontractors earlier in the demonstration. Alternatively, they can attest that they have no third-party information to report, which is what I'm going to select for today's example. Finally, we need a lien waiver prior to submitting the pay application. And you'll notice that this lien waiver here is a conditional progress waiver, and we can view and sign the document digitally right here in the platform. You'll notice that this waiver is pulling in details from my project, such as the dollar amount on the pay app, as well as the company name, project name, location, and date, and other details. Now, this is a example waiver, but we would actually use your company waivers that your subcontractors would be signing. I will adopt a digital signature and sign the document today. And at this point in time, I have completed my waiver and uploaded all required documentation for this pay application. So think about all those documents that you might require for your pay apps. You're probably receiving those via email today. And so when we have our subcontractors submit all of their items in the GCPay platform, we are going to relieve all of that congestion that you were probably feeling in your email address inbox. So when we submit this, the subcontractor can attest that, yes, my current contract value is correct. Alternatively, they can attest that it is not correct and that they have a proposed change order that is not included in the schedule. And so at this point in time, they can identify whether that contract value needs to be changed. We will submit the pay app as is today, and you'll notice that right away I get another reminder that I have outstanding compliance issues that need to be resolved. And so at this point in time, I'm going to now log out as Joe Barth, and for the final time today, we are going to log in as the general contractor. Navigating straight to the dashboard, we can see items that require our attention, such as those payment applications that have been submitted. Here's the pay application for Barth Electric. And if I wanted to view the waivers, I could click the waivers button here on the right-hand side. Here you can see the conditional progress payment waiver that has been accepted because we digitally signed that without modifying the document. So we can have it automatically accepted. Otherwise, we could send that for review within your company. We're going to review the pay app now. And here you can see the different dollar amounts against the schedule of values, as well as the summary down below to see what was submitted by the subcontractor. Now, as a result of entering all of those details, we are going to produce your AIA style billings. So under the Reports tab, you can download your application for payment with those attachments. So I'm going to download that as a PDF today, but you could also download that in an Excel format, which is more of a working copy of that document. And when I open up the application for payment, you can see that as a result of my subcontractor doing their billings, we have produced a G702, 703 style documentation invoices. In addition to that, we will also provide an audit trail. And this audit is showing all of the actions that Joe Barth took in order to submit the pay app, including signing the waiver, as well as any comments that he may have provided. Down below, we have that insurance as well as the photos for the stored refrigerators. If everything looks good to go, we can come back under the View tab here, review and submit the pay app. Here you can see that I do just have one reviewer for this payment application. So again, you could have multiple reviewers or tiered reviewers, but we'll go ahead and approve the pay app as is today. That will send notification to your subcontractors that their pay app has been approved. Now, the next thing I'd like to do is actually highlight the integration into your Sage system. And then we're going to highlight a couple reports before I hand it back over to Sabrina today. And so the final step in the workflow is to open back up that GCPay integrator. And let me go ahead and open that up real quick. Looks like I had shut that down earlier. And so we're opening up the integration window right now. Alrighty, and we're going to navigate over to the import tab. Now you'll notice that there's now one item under this import tab, and this is going to be where all of the approved pay apps will land once they've been marked as approved within GCPay. You will be required to put in a batch ID, which I'm going to put as 02252021 for today's date. You'll notice we'll put a date received, accounting date, and payment date as well for each of the pay apps we have selected. You can select one pay app or hundreds. And so this next step in the process will really alleviate that data entry that you may be incurring today with all of your vendors' invoices. And so what we're doing right now is importing that invoice into our Sage accounts payable for 300 construction and real estate. It should only take just a moment to submit the one pay app. And as soon as it does, you'll be able to see the status on that import. Looks like it did import that successful. It did say it succeeded there. And so what I'm going to do now is open up my accounts payable for my 300 construction and real estate. Okay, let me log in real quick. Alrighty, we'll select our data source. And an easy way to see the AP invoice within the Sage accounting solution is to run a quick inquiry. And you can run the invoice register on your AP new file, as we're going to put this in as an invoice into the AP new file. We're going to select Barth Electric, and here you can see the invoice that has been pulled in. We provide the description, the invoice date, the original amount, and all the other details that are on that invoice. For example, you could insert in a column, and I should just change this so it comes in automatically, but I'll add in retainage. You can see those details are pulled in on the invoice as well. If you wanted to drill in a step further, you can double click that and see the distribution on the invoice line item. So here we can see the description, amount, we can see the commitment name, job, cost code, category, and account that invoice is going to hit. The next step in the workflow is to go ahead and post all of those invoices and then get them paid, whether you do that through electronic check or via snail mail. And once those items have been marked as paid within Sage, we then have the ability to release those waivers via the settings that I had shown earlier. And so the next thing I'd like to highlight within the program are the different reports that come out of the product. There are a ton of reports that come with the system, including your compliance reports or outstanding approvals. I'm going to open up my compliance report, and you'll notice that we can generate many of these reports into an Excel format. And so this one opened up on my other monitor, and here you can see a compliance report for this particular job and all those items that I might need to go track down. That's just one example of a report that you might use for your subcontractors, but I often also get questions about what we could present to our owners. Well, you can run what's called a monthly cost bundle report. And what that'll do is produce your AIA style invoices for each of your vendors for a project for a particular draw number. And so here you can see the first invoice. We can see the details on that invoice on the second sheet, followed by the audit trail, as well as a particular waiver. We can see that the sixth page in this document is our second application for payment, followed by the continuation sheet and another audit trail. And so within this document, I have 23 different pay apps, some of which have a W-9 or other required documents that are submitted with those pay applications. And so this type of monthly cost bundle report could be created and then submitted to an owner for progress billings. And so that just shows a couple different reports that come with the system. There are a plethora of reports that I just don't have the time to jump into today. But that's just about everything I had to highlight within the software here today. And so without further ado, I'll go ahead and change the presenter back over to Sabrina. I understand she has a couple closing slides before we dismiss today. So Sabrina, it should be all yours now.
Thanks so much, Marshall, and thank you for that wonderful presentation. I hope everyone now has a good idea of just, how great the functionality will be from the general contractor side, and then just how easy it is for your subcontractors to do their billing in GCPay as well. So thank you again, Marshall. That was great. In review, what he already showed, and I know he mentioned this, but we did show Sage 300 CRE. We also integrate directly with Sage 100 Contractor, very similar integration points. But with that, GCPay will automatically pull commitments, change orders, and compliance requirements straight from Sage. So no hand keying there. And then as he showed at the end, once a pay app is approved in GCPay, it's automatically imported back into Sage. So no hand keying, bringing the items over, and no hand keying, importing that pay app back into Sage whatsoever. Part of the functionality is that foolproof billing. So subs are unable to make, math errors, overbill line, overbill contract like Marshall showed, billed for unapproved change orders, or change the previous billed amounts. So all this, again, you don't have to worry about having your subs do anything like this, but also you'll save so much time and manual back and forth of tracking and trying to make sure there are no errors. The next piece is that fully managed lien waivers and compliance. So as you saw, GCPay handles all compliance requirements and lien waiver exchanges. No more missing lien waivers or dealing with expired compliance. And then Marshall did show a couple of this. So you can have certain documents required with the schedule value. You can have certain documents required at the pay up level. It's fully customizable to whatever works best for your team. But like you saw, you can require subs to submit lien waivers, expired insurance docs, stored material backup, any sort of custom doc, really whenever you need it. This way, ensuring the correct document is along with the pay app, and your team, again, does not have to manually chase those documents down and deal with all the back and forth communication. It's there right when you need it. Last piece is that digital signature and online notarization. So obviously this matters state to state on what your state allows, but GCPay's digital signature is good by UETA guidelines and fully counts as a wet signature in all 50 states. If something does need to be notarized, the sub can always download it. If they have a Notary Republic in the office, have it notarized and re-upload it. Or, as Marshall mentioned, with our new partnership with notarize.com, they can get something notarized online without ever having to leave their computer or even their phone. And then I think you touched on this a little bit, but just want to reiterate it. GCPay, with the purchase of GCPay comes with the 24/7 support, both English and Spanish. So if you're in a state that has Spanish-speaking subcontractors, this is huge for those customers. It truly is 24/7 bilingual support via phone or email. Our average answer time last month was 7 seconds. So truly within 7 seconds, if your subs have questions, someone will pick up. And all this means is that they will no longer be calling you or your project managers trying to get updates and help with pay app questions. And then Nate, do we have any questions that we want to go over from the group today?
There was a few questions from the chat. I want to thank Sabrina and Marshall for that great presentation on GCPay. But we do have a few questions. The first question being, how long does it usually take to get implemented with GCPay?
Oh, that's a great question. So GCPay is nowhere near as cumbersome as, implementing a new ERP system, which we've all been through. I would say onboarding usually says it takes an average of 2 weeks. And that honestly just depends on how quickly you can get your team scheduled for the different trainings. Because GCPay does fully train your admin team, your accounting team, your project managers, and we train all of your subcontractors on how to use GCPay. So we've had customers, scheduled all within a couple of days and be billing within a week. We have had some customers want to take it slowly over a month, but I would say average is, a week or two.
Great. Another one here. How does GCPay handle overbilling on line items? Is there a restriction?
Exactly. So great question. And this is something Marshall touched on the demo. So it's impossible to overbill a line item. That's part of the platform is it will read if something is trying to overbill for the number value of that line item, and it will not allow a sub to overbill on a line item if you want that turned on in settings, which 99% do.
Okay, and then we've got one more that just came in, and the question is there a cost for subcontractors to use GCPay?
That's a great question, and probably something that you'll want to talk directly with Alliance about pricing wise. There are a couple different pieces of GCPay's pricing. There's a project fee and a pay app fee, and it's up to the general contractor who wants to incur that pay app fee. But definitely, talk more with Nate and anyone else on Alliance if you're interested in hearing about pricing.
Perfect. Yep, I can definitely help out with that. Well, that was the questions that we had. I want to thank Sabrina and Marshall again. That was a great presentation. And I want to thank all the attendees for joining us today. If there is any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to Alliance or Marshall at Sage or Sabrina at GCPay.
Perfect. I just have 2 more slides left, Nate. So if you are interested, we're really excited. We're offering a fully exclusive discount for attendees of this virtual roadshow, good for the next 30 days. So reach out to your Alliance team member if you want to schedule a custom demo, QA, or if you're ready to go and you want to hear about this exclusive discount, definitely reach out to Nate or someone else on the Alliance team. Now for the fun part. So free lunch. Every single time I look at it, this picture of pizza makes me so hungry for pizza. So keep an eye out for an email from Grubhub today. It'll be a $15 Grubhub credit, good for the next week, and you can order delivery online or through the Grubhub app. So again, that's our little thank you from GCPay for attending lunch or dinner or whatever you want to call it on GCPay. And just thanks so much, everyone, for your time today on this.